So have you ever been in that situation where you're playing Half-Life 2 on Steam and you're like, you know, it would be cool. What if Half-Life 2 was playable on a portable console? I think that'd be great. Well, lucky you. You're in luck. Your dreams have been fulfilled. Basically, they've made a console here that's essentially a Nintendo Switch, but technically a Nintendo Switch that's crunched into a PC, or I don't know if that really makes any sense. Basically, this is a portable PC. Personally, I've never seen anything like this before. I've seen something similar to this before. I think it was like some kind of like small little PC like thing. It wasn't really a portable thing. It didn't look like a Switch. I'll pull it up on screen right now if I can figure out where I found it from. But small PCs have been around for a while. It's no mystery. There's always been portable PCs. There's been, you know, laptops. There's been like... But I find this to be very unique, and I have some pretty spicy opinions about it. I think this product is... I think it's fine. I think as a product, as what it's probably aiming to do, it definitely works really well. But yeah, I just have some opinions on it, and I just want to start with the control scheme, the control layout. So first, I have a problem. I have a massive problem. Why are the buttons on like the sides of the analog stick? Like, it looks like if someone tried to design a controller while cross-eyed. It looks really uncomfortable to hold, if I'm being honest. This looks like one of those fan-made consoles you'd see in 2009 for the PS4. Basically, it just looks like that. It looks very uncomfortable to hold, and I don't like the control scheme of it at all. And this is what really confused me about it too. I'm only showing you the front of the controller. And as you can see, you know, it kind of looks like an Xbox controller, right? You can see the buttons, they follow the traditional Xbox button layout scheme. You know, you have the A button on the bottom, B button on the right, you know, etc. But here's where it gets really, really weird, okay? So if we go to the back here, this just really confuses me. Why is it that now we're going to PlayStation? As you can see right there, it says R1 and R2, and then on the left it's L1 and L2, like, sort of like, you know, like the PlayStation. This just looks very strange to me. It just looks very odd. And especially with those side buttons. Apparently these buttons say L4 and L5, and on the right it's R4 and R5. Really. I have virtually no idea what these buttons could possibly be used for. Unless if they're like used to maybe customize the buttons. But this control layout just makes zero sense. You should try to go for an Xbox type of aesthetic like normally. Most PC games usually go for Xbox controls. Most PC games natively support Xbox. So I don't understand why they decided to go for this identity crisis where they suddenly go from Xbox to PlayStation. And also for the other buttons, it's pretty obvious what they are, you know. The top left, you can see that's probably the menu button. On the top right, that's probably the start button. On the bottom left, I'm guessing that's the home button because it says Steam. But what's really confusing me, what the fuck is that little three-dot button at the bottom? What is that? What is that supposed to serve? Maybe that's supposed to be some sort of share button like the PS4 or the PS5, but why not just indicate that it's a share button instead of putting three dotted lines? It doesn't make any sense to me personally. I don't understand it. And also, what's up with these squares in the middle of the things that are where the button should be? I'm guessing those are the touch pads, but why would you use a pointer on this? I thought this was supposed to be like a handheld console PC hybrid. Why would you try to put a touchpad on this, like to use a mouse cursor? It doesn't really make too much sense, does it? Especially since you can hook this shit up to the TV anyway, so why would you even bother using a touchpad on this in the first place? That's just wasting free room for where the buttons should be. And now the buttons have to be in the super awkward position that are just right above the analog stick. That just looks really dumb, and it just looks really cross-eyed. It looks stupid. This whole controller layout is stupid. If you can hook up a controller to it, so be it. I can't see myself using this. I can't see myself using the controller layout here. It just looks way too uncomfortable for me. Granted, I probably won't buy this because I don't really see a reason to, especially since it's about $500. I'm not Jeff Bezos. I'm not going to do that shit. Down here we can see more of the UI and how it basically functions with the game, and I can definitely see that it's very good. I really like it. I really like this. It definitely looks like a more souped up Switch. This definitely looks really good, and I finally found out the reason for that stupid fucking three-dot button. It's for friends or something, sharing, I guess. Again, you should just put sharing on there, like the share button, make it obvious, not just three dots. Here we can see the specific storage options. We can see 64 gigabytes, 256 gigabytes, and 512 gigabytes. Honestly, 64 gigabytes, it just seems like way too little for, you know, a Steam machine or whatever you want to call it. This just looks like you could fit like Doom Eternal and literally nothing else on there. Of course, for me it's Canadian prices, but it might be different for American. I'm just gonna judge it based on the currency in my country because that makes the most sense. Personally, I think $800 it's a bit overpriced for this, but assuming that this is pretty powerful and assuming that, you know, this basically plays all your PC Steam games on the go, it makes sense why it would be $800. So we're mainly going to be looking at the specs here, and the specs, I mean, they don't really say much about the specs, honestly. Like, of course, you can see, like, the CPU's clock speed, or, you know, you can see how many teraflops it has. But honestly, you could probably find a lot of this in a mid-range PC. Like, this shit's probably in my rig right now, and my rig probably isn't the top of the world. The power is really going to be determined on release when people can actually test it out and see what it can run and what it can't run. Because, if I'm being honest, it doesn't really say much about the hardware. It does say that it has 16 gigabytes of RAM, DDR5 by the way, and it has an NVMe SSD. Not even my PC has a NVMe SSD. I'm stuck with a mechanical hard drive like a troglodyte. But yeah, these specs look pretty good. I like these specs. But yeah, mostly we're going to be seeing what it's actually capable of on release, because this doesn't really say much about it. And unfortunately, as you can see at the bottom there, it actually says that you can't replace the M.2 SSDs. That's a bit shitty. It's like the PS5 where you can't replace the SSDs. And they can't really even use the excuse for now because M.2 SSDs are in the market. They're definitely in the market. But maybe further down the line they'll make it so you can replace them. I really hope you can. But honestly, I could see why they would do this, because you could literally just get a 64 gigabyte Steam Deck, open it up, put the maximum amount of storage you want in there, and then boom, you're good. You basically just saved like almost $500 on it. So I understand why they did it. It's just a little bit, you know, it's a little bit shitty. And we can see down here it says the haptics are HD haptics. If I had to take a wild guess, I'm guessing what they mean by that is the haptics used in the PS5. But a lot of PC games don't even have that feature built in. A good amount, actually. Even recent games don't even have HD haptics in mind. But again, this is going to release in like 2022. It uses USB Type-C, almost like the Switch. And I'd really appreciate that I'd do anything to go away from micro USB. That was a hellhole. It also supports a lot of SD cards. It supports SDHC, SDXC, and SD. A lot of Ds, a lot of S's. It looks, you know, pretty much what you'd expect. And honestly, if you wanted to cheap out, you could literally just get a 64 gigabyte Steam Deck and literally just get like a 500 gigabyte micro SD card and slap it in here, and there you go, you're good. And down here we can see that the refresh rate of the screen is 60 hertz. Honestly, I'm not surprised there either, but honestly, it would be nice if there was some sort of variant of it that would make it so it would be 144 hertz. I think that would please all the hardcore gamers out there wanting to play Doom Eternal in 450,000 frames per second. And you can see down here the OS, it actually is Steam OS. For people who don't know what Steam OS is, Steam basically made this thing like a couple years ago. It was basically Steam Big Picture mode, but if it was an operating system, and it was worse. It was pretty bad. There was literally no reason to use it, and it wasn't supported with any games really. But I guess they souped it up, and now it's based on Arch Linux. So as you can see down here, they have a bit of an I/O cutout. They have a display port. They have an HDMI. They have a power in, Ethernet, USB 3.1, and 2 USB 2.0s. Apparently this is actually sold separately though. This isn't part of the Steam Deck. Apparently it's sold separately and it's called the Steam Dock. I'm guessing this is just used to hook up to your TV, make it seem more like a PC. So yeah, I guess it can be sold separately as long as it doesn't cost too much. I haven't really seen anything about the cost of that thing on here. And I know we just talked about the hardware and the specs of it, but I think I can probably figure out how good this, you know, the Steam Deck is gonna be, just based on one little detail I found. I'm not gonna pretend like I'm some kind of Sherlock Holmes detective. I just solved the crime. No, just a little bit of an observation I thought I'd point point out. So as you can see in a little Steam UI preview, it looked like they were playing Control. Now I don't really know much about Control, but I can look on Steam right now, and here are the specs for Control. So we're on Control Ultimate Edition right now, and I'm on the system requirements page. And here's what it says about the system requirements. The recommended specs are an Intel Core i5 7600K or an AMD Ryzen 5 1600X if you're using AMD, 16 gigabytes of RAM, and a GeForce GTX 1660 or an AMD Radeon RX 580. And if you want to go ray tracing, which I highly doubt the Steam Deck is going to use ray tracing, but you need an RTX 2060. So based on this, we can probably determine this. Assuming this gameplay isn't just fabricated to make the Steam Deck look good, if the Steam Deck can fluently run Control well, then there's a good chance it can run some pretty demanding games on this thing. Again, that's assuming that this isn't just a marketing ploy. Like, for all we know, it can run Control like absolute ass. But hey, who knows? Maybe this thing is actually a fucking beast under the hood. But yeah, this looks really good. This looks really impressive for what it is. So honestly, my final thoughts on the Steam Deck is that, it definitely looks really good. Again, the button layout, it's going to be very hard to get used to, but again, it says further in this that you can actually hook this up to your TV or your monitor or whatever, and this can honestly just be a full-fledged gaming PC, given you can, put in a keyboard and mouse, or if it can run Doom Eternal, again, I'd say it's worth the 800 Canadian dollars. I'm not sure about US, but for Canadian dollars, I'd say if it can run Doom Eternal, then yeah, okay. I'd say it's worth it. So let's give a pros and cons list, okay? What can the Steam Deck run? The Steam Deck can run Devil May Cry 4 and Persona 4. Can the Switch run Devil May Cry 4? No. Can the Switch run Persona 4? No. Can Steam Deck run Sonic Adventure? Yes. Can the Switch run Sonic Adventure? No. Can the Steam Deck run Garfield Kart? Yes. Can the Switch run Garfield Kart? No.